Michael Jones adjusted his tie as he stepped into the cool interior of Crestwood Bank in Denver, Colorado. The morning had been brisk but productive, and this stop was meant to be his final errand before returning to the office. His leather briefcase swung at his side as he walked up to the sleek counter, where a young woman named Lisa stood behind the glass, her hair neatly pinned back. "Good morning," Michael said with a calm, friendly tone. He slid a crisp check along with a stack of bills through the slot. "I'd like to make a deposit," he added. Lisa glanced at the check, then at Michael, her eyes lingering just a moment too long before narrowing slightly. "This line is for business clients only," she said, gesturing toward another line already crowded with customers. "I am in the right place?" Michael replied, his smile steady. "This is a business account deposit." Her lips tightened into a thin line. "I'll need to see some identification," she said curtly. Michael hesitated, not because he objected, but because her tone was sharp, almost accusatory. He retrieved his wallet and handed her his driver's license. Lisa examined it closely, her expression shifting to one of open suspicion. "This your ID?" she asked, flipping it over like she was searching for signs of forgery. Michael raised an eyebrow. "Yes." "Why?" She didn't answer. Instead, she set the license aside and scrutinized the check as if it were evidence in a criminal investigation. "And where exactly did you get this?" she asked, holding it up delicately, her voice tinged with disbelief. Michael's calm started to fray. "I wrote it," he said evenly. "It's from my company, Apex Capital." Lisa gave a slight, unmistakable scoff. "And what exactly is your role there?" "I'm the CEO," Michael replied, his tone clipped, patience thinning. Lisa's faint smirk didn't go unnoticed. She leaned over and pressed a button. "Security, I might need some assistance," she said into the intercom, her voice calm, too calm as if reporting a disturbance rather than addressing a customer. "Is there a problem?" Michael asked, now visibly tense. Michael's voice was firm now, though still controlled. "Is there a problem?" he asked. Lisa crossed her arms. "I'm just doing my job," she said coolly. "This check doesn't look right, and your story doesn't quite add up. Do you have another form of ID? A passport, maybe?" Michael stared at her, incredulous. "Who brings a passport to the bank?" Her lips curled into a thin, smug smile. "I do, when I travel." Her finger hovered near the intercom button, the smirk on her face deepening. Moments later, a tall security guard stepped out from a side door. His posture was rigid, eyes scanning the lobby. The atmosphere grew heavier, and Michael could sense the eyes of nearby customers turning his way. "Is there an issue, Lisa?" the guard asked, voice calm but edged with authority. "Yes," she replied, gesturing toward Michael. "I suspect fraud. This gentleman presented a check and an ID that don't seem to match. His story doesn't line up." Michael turned to face the guard, keeping his composure. "There's no fraud," he said evenly. "I'm depositing a check from my company account, and everything I've provided is valid." The guard looked from Lisa to Michael and back again, his stance shifting slightly, uncertain. "Should I call the police?" he asked. Lisa waved him off. "Not yet. Let's verify the check first. It's from a company called Apex Capital. He claims to be the CEO. Michael took a slow, steady breath. Her words hit a nerve, but he kept his tone measured. "You could save us all some time," he said, "by calling the number on the check." "They'll confirm everything," Michael said. Lisa didn't respond. Instead, she pulled a second monitor closer and began typing in the check details. As her fingers moved swiftly across the keyboard, she shot another glance at Michael. "Do you even have another form of ID? A business card? Anything to prove who you are?" Without a word, Michael opened his briefcase and handed her a crisp business card, embossed with the Apex Capital logo and his name. Lisa barely looked at it before setting it aside, dismissing it as irrelevant. You know, she said sharply, we have policies in place to stop scammers. You'd be surprised how often people try to pass off fake checks. You should have thought this through better. Michael's jaw clenched, but he remained steady. Is this how you treat all your customers? He asked, his voice suddenly sharp. Or just the ones who look like me? Lisa froze for a moment. Her expression flickered, then hardened again. I'm just doing my job, she said defensively. You're the one acting suspicious. The security guard, still standing nearby, cleared his throat. Why don't we let her verify the check and see what turns up? He said, his tone carefully neutral. Michael nodded and stepped back slightly. Fine. Go ahead. Verify it. Lisa resumed typing, then picked up the phone. As the line rang, Michael stood with arms crossed, watching her closely, his calm demeanor now strained by the frustration bubbling beneath the surface. She held the phone to her ear, her voice clipped and professional. Yes, this is Lisa from Crestwood Bank. I'm calling to verify a check for $20,000 issued by Apex Capital, Lisa said into the phone. May I speak with someone in charge? Michael stood quietly, his expression unreadable. The security guard shifted uneasily beside him. Around them, the room grew still. Customers pretended not to listen, but many leaned in slightly, drawn by the tension in the air. A brief pause followed, thick with anticipation. Yes, I'll hold, Lisa said curtly, tapping her nails against the desk in irritation, as though the mere act of waiting was beneath her. The line reconnected and Lisa's eyes widened slightly. Oh, Mr. Jones. Yes. I have someone here attempting to cash a check in your name, and I need to confirm its authenticity. Michael arched an eyebrow, tilting his head ever so slightly, waiting for what he already knew was coming. Lisa's expression shifted rapidly, confidence giving way to confusion, then embarrassment. Her cheeks flushed as she stammered, Yes, of course. I didn't realize. Thank you. She placed the phone down gently, her hand trembling. She glanced toward Michael but couldn't quite meet his eyes. It's all verified, she said quietly, her voice barely audible. At that moment, the bank manager, Greg, a composed man with a calm presence, stepped out of his office, clearly alerted by the escalating situation. He looked between Lisa, the security guard, and Michael, reading the tension in the room. What's going on here? He asked, his tone firm but controlled. Lisa straightened, trying to recover a sense of authority. I was just verifying a suspicious transaction, she said quickly. But it's all sorted now, Lisa said quickly. Michael stepped forward, his voice steady but firm. What she means is that she falsely accused me of fraud, questioned my identity without cause, and treated me like a criminal, based solely on her assumptions. Greg's brow furrowed as he turned to Lisa. Is that true? Lisa faltered. I was just following protocol. It's not my fault he seemed. Greg raised a hand to stop her. I'll handle this. He turned back to Michael. Mr. Jones, I sincerely apologize for the inconvenience. Is there anything I can do to make this right? Michael met his gaze, unflinching. What you can do is take a hard look at how your staff treats people, because this wasn't just an inconvenience, it was completely unacceptable. Greg's expression darkened as he faced Lisa again. This wasn't a simple mistake. You treated one of our most valued clients with disrespect, and worse, with prejudice. Client? Lisa echoed, her voice barely audible. Greg nodded and gestured toward Michael. This is Michael Jones, CEO of Apex Capital, one of our largest business partners. This bank processes millions of dollars in transactions for his company every year, and you just accused him of trying to cash a fraudulent check from his own firm. Lisa's face drained of color. I didn't know, she stammered. I was just doing my job. No, Michael said, interrupting, his tone calm but commanding. You weren't doing your job. You were making assumptions, based on how I looked. Not what was in front of you, Michael continued. I gave you every piece of proof you asked for, and it still wasn't enough. Because you'd already decided I didn't belong here. Lisa opened her mouth, but no. Words came out. Greg let out a slow breath, then turned to Michael. Mr. Jones, on behalf of Crestwood Bank, I sincerely apologize. This behavior does not reflect our values or the way we treat our customers. Michael studied him for a moment before offering a slight nod. Your apology is noted, but what matters more is what you do next. How will you make sure this doesn't happen again? Greg's expression hardened as he looked back at Lisa. Effective immediately, Lisa. You're terminated. Her eyes went wide with shock, panic rising. Wait! Fired? You can't do that! I can, Greg replied flatly. And I just did. Clear out your desk by the end of the day. Lisa's lips trembled as she looked to Michael, silently, pleading for leniency. But his expression remained firm, offering no comfort. The security guard stepped forward. I'll make sure she collects her things without incident, he said quietly. As Lisa walked away, shoulders hunched, Michael turned back to Greg. I appreciate the swift action, he said, voice composed. But this isn't just about one employee. You have a deeper issue to address, a culture that allows this kind of behavior to take root. Greg nodded solemnly. You're right. We'll begin a full review of our training programs and internal policies immediately. You have my word. As Lisa disappeared down the hallway, Greg gestured toward his office. Mr. Jones, please allow me to personally assist you with your deposit. Michael glanced around the bank, noting the uneasy stares from the other customers. He knew their curiosity wasn't rooted in malice, but the moment had left a mark all the same. But the weight of what had just happened still lingered in the air. Michael gave Greg a curt nod and followed him into the office, briefcase in hand. Inside, Greg processed the deposit with quiet efficiency, offering the occasional reassurance that this kind of incident wouldn't happen again. When the transaction was complete, he leaned forward slightly, his tone sincere. Mr. Jones, I can't apologize enough for what happened today. It was completely unacceptable. Michael looked at him calmly. Apologies matter, Greg, but they're not the solution. What matters is making sure this doesn't happen to someone else, someone who might not have the title, the resources, or the voice to defend themselves. Greg nodded, the weight of Michael's words clearly settling in. We'll take action. That's a promise. Michael stood, slipping the receipt into his briefcase. At the door, he paused and turned back. And one more thing. Educate your staff. A lesson in respect and equality can go a lot further than just firing someone. Greg straightened, his expression resolute. Understood. Michael stepped out into the main lobby. He wasn't the type to make speeches, but something about the moment held him there. The atmosphere had shifted, quieter now, more introspective. The customers who had witnessed the incident were still watching, though their curiosity had softened into something else. Maybe respect, maybe guilt. He looked out across the room, then said, his voice steady and clear, Don't judge someone by how they look. You might be staring at the very person who could change your life. He offered a polite nod to the silent crowd and walked out of the bank. The sunlight greeted him like an old friend. Outside, he paused for a moment. He stood for a moment, taking in the fresh air. The frustration that had burned earlier had settled into something sharper. Purpose. A quiet determination to keep breaking. Barriers, not just for himself, but for everyone who had ever been dismissed, doubted, or unseen. Inside, Greg called an emergency staff meeting. Lisa's empty seat at the front desk remained untouched, a quiet, visible reminder of the lesson that needed to take root. Not just within the walls of Crestwood Bank, but in every place where assumptions continued to speak louder than understanding. Thumbnail. Prompt sure. Here's a detailed thumbnail image prompt for your story. Prompt for AI image generator. Thumbnail. Scene. Inside a modern, upscale bank lobby with clean lines, polished floors, and a sleek glass-walled interior. In the foreground, a well-dressed black man, early 40s, confident posture, calm expression, stands near a bank counter, holding a leather briefcase in one hand and a receipt in the other. He is wearing a navy blue tailored suit and a striped tie. His body is slightly turned as if he's just addressed a group behind him. The lighting emphasizes him as the focal point. In the mid-ground, a white female bank teller, late 20s, professional attire, neat bun, stands behind the counter looking shocked and remorseful. Her posture is stiff and she's glancing at a tall security guard next to her who appears conflicted. The desk has a nameplate reading Lisa. In the background, customers sitting or standing in line are turning to watch the scene. Their faces show a mix of surprise, discomfort, and newfound respect. The atmosphere is quiet and reflective. Optional details include subtle elements like a discarded check on the counter, a manager in a suit walking away toward an office, and an empty chair at the front desk left conspicuously unoccupied. Mood: tense but resolute with a sense of justice and dignity. Text overlay, top or bottom clean font. Mistaken identity or hidden bias, or he was the CEO. Would you like a variation of this for a YouTube short or vertical format?